for want of a better word at the moment. Like we didn't have TVs and all this kind of weather and stuff. We used to go to the neighbor to watch TV, back in the time. And my journey into tech it started when I was about 16. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, about 15, 16, somewhere there, when I was introduced to something called a computer. And I was like, wow, and they would, I would see what it could do, and I would follow it, and it blew my mind. And so since age about 16, I started getting interested in it, but I wasn't involved in it like a career or anything else, just a thing, So I went to school, came out of school, started to work. I am by trade a mechanical engineer. So I used to work in the steel plant. I used to work on, doing ups and downs on ships, moving ships, to change a whole engine on a ship. Why is it moving? And a lot of things and things like that. So I am a mechanical engineer. I used to work on the rigs offshore and stuff like that. So that was me. And the big change in my career was when I moved to the UK. When I moved to the UK, I realized, wait a minute, we have an issue here. Coal and mechanics don't mix. I just didn't understand how you could be out in the cold and you're freezing and you're under a car or you're inside of an engine. Is like, oh my gosh. And I realized this is not for me. So I decided to change my career. That changed my career. And then my girlfriend at the time, back then, she said, you hate the computers, you're good at that. Why don't you do that? And that one statement is what catapulted me into doing IT as a thing. Now, so I started doing IT. I get into IT then, but I was a systems engineer. So I could build a whole environment for you, hubs, routers, such as the world. I could build the whole, thing for you guys. And that is where I work. And I was working at so I spent a few years doing that. And most notably for where I am today, I was working for British Airways at the time. And they started to outsource. That time outsourcing, I mean, for you young people on this call, outsourcing was now a thing. It is now starting to creeping into the industry where companies would, bring in these external companies to do work remotely. And so they started to outsource like service desks and all these kind of things. So my job literally became redundant. And then I said, what would I do? And one of the guys, I had a friend who, when he was talking, and he said, hey, why don't you do testing? And I went, what? Just like that. And he said, it's a thing, I said, all right, I'll give it a try. So we made a day. Next day, I went to work with him. They introduced me to his boss. And so I'm talking to his boss. So I'm standing in front of his boss table. So he's sitting, I'm standing there, my friend standing up there. And he started talking to me, and then he stopped because his phone rang. So he picks it up and he's on the phone. So he said, give me 1 second, and he's on the phone. And I'm standing there looking at him as what he do, looking at what's going on his desk, because I'm right there. I'm just looking at this, and what caught my eye was a network diagram. He had a network diagram on his desk. And when he finished the call, before he could say anything to me, I just went, that wouldn't work. And he said, what? That wouldn't work. He said, what do you mean? And then I pointed, I say, you see the diagram? You see this line here? If you break that line, this whole thing is going to crash. And if you break this line over here, nothing works. And he hired me on the spot right there at that point. I get hired right there on the spot. No interview, no how you can do that. That was my entire interview QA. What it was some company reach out to them and ask them to test the network system, because it was vis-a-vis and Vivendi Marketing come together to build this platform for MSN messaging. So you see how far back we were, right? MSN messaging now coming out. And they Vodafone and Vivendi Marketing doing this, and asked them to test it if they could do it. And at that moment, I was the only person in the entire industry who could have done that right at that moment. And I get hired right there, and the rest is history. I just went on to do that, and And for me as a person, I like to, I have this concept in my head where no matter what I do, I want to be the best. That's how my brain is work. I want to be the best. Now, I will never be the best because, you know, you have people who will know better than you and know more than you and stuff like that. But that is where I always look for. I want to be the best. And here I am today. I am the test automation architect at Oxford University Press. And I'm saying it like that because I am the only one there, and I'm the first one, and I'm the only one, period. It doesn't have a team of test automation architect. I'm the only one that's doing this. Mhm. Oh, you sure you have time? You sure we have time for me to explain what a day is like for me? Yeah, I mean, a day for me is you can look at it two ways because I have two, like I do two jobs kind of in turn for it. One where I am doing just pure R&D, research and development, and one where I am in charge of 67 QA people, right? All automation people, 67 of them works under me. And I have my days like you call up, you have an issue, this one tried to do something that doesn't work, and then you have, so on one side of it, I do a lot of mentoring and helping out and writing functions that will do something that you want to do, that you just spend some time doing and you don't get it. And I say, you know what, I will do it. I will then do it, and then me and you will have a conversation where I will explain exactly how I did it, you know, how it will work, how it works, and integrate it. And that being said, I also have the other side where I do R&D, and by that I mean all the new tech stuff that comes around, I get to play with it. So I play with all the tech that comes in. I look and see what it could do, what we could do with it, how it will help us. And on the other hand, the framework we use, I built it. It's called Classy.js. So I made Classy.js a few years back, but in saying that, it is now used by Oxford University Press across the world. So we call it, why did I just take a copy of it and make it specific and tailor it to suit Oxford University Press? And they use it around the world. My initial build for it was a Cambridge assessment. I was actually working there at the time when I actually came up with the plan to build it. And yeah, so that's what a day is like. So for a day for me is I come on in the morning. So most of my morning I spend doing meetings, and I multitask a lot. So I'll be in a meeting and helping you do something. And while I helping Mary do something as well as Cronus, all at the same time. You know, so it's a real multitasking thing. And then I still find time to play around with the technology. That's what a day in my world looks like. Mhm. Yeah. Oh, wow. It was a journey. It wasn't just I got one morning as one thing and started doing the thing, the other thing. It was a journey. When I started back then, it was a lot of manual things. You know, it didn't have much automation around, and and that was it. So I started building up my career in being a tester. But back then they were testers. Now they have all over the years. They call us all different names as the year roll on. You know, you have testers, curious, SDS. You know, you name it, and we were placed in it. So I started doing that, and whilst doing that, you know, to me, like I say, I always have this concept of I want to be the best there is in whatever I do. So I started figuring out how could I improve on what I do, and I started looking on doing some reading, seeing what I have out there in terms of, because it's a new field for me. So I started looking and doing my little research, and then some automation came into play, you know, with test director and load runner and win runner and all all this kind of stuff. I mean, before your time as well, you know, and I started looking at that. So then I moved from just being a normal, let's say a normal tester, and then I started doing testing. And they called me what was the thing at the time? I can't remember what it was at the time, but for the conversation, I was then a test engineer where I now start to work with automation tools. And it was all, back then it was all proprietary tools. So you record something and you make a few changes. And over the years, I look at what it have and I build on it. And then I found out about open source things. And I started looking at that to see how we could improve. So I went from getting the job and through our learning process of a lot of reading, a lot of chemicals, you know, for me to understand and how best I could help in what I'm doing to make it more quality wise. So I'll use normal phrases so everybody understands. So I started to make sure the quality was good, and I just move on and on and on. And what got me to the space of test automation architect was I started working and building things, and that's where, like I said, that's why I built ClassicJS. I started building things because I realized, wait a minute, this could become easier. I could do this. You know, it must have a way to do it. And I will admit right now, I'm a very lazy person. Very, very, very lazy. So I just find the most efficient way to get something done. Because I'm very lazy. Okay? And that was the transition going on, and one thing it is next. And I was when I reached where I am now, to Oxford University Press, I was just a normal test automation engineer. That was it. And to put me through, you know, this is what we have, and I solved that problem. This is what we have, and I solved that problem. And then they realized, wait a minute, this guy knows what he's doing. Well, I was a contractor then, right? I was a contractor. And what it did was they created the automation architect position and hire me. And literally they buy out my contract and hire me to become the test automation architect. So that was the journey from starting to where I am now. Okay. Let's do the book first. I'll go for the book first because the book was, I will say, a by the way thing. It was sounds strange, but it was like a by the way thing. What went on was I have this friend Paul, the co-author of the book, and he was contracted. He made some deal with a publisher to write this book, and he didn't have a name for it yet, just to write a book, a tech book on thing. And he was coming close to the time that he was supposed to deliver, and he was nowhere near there yet. So he reached out to me and he said to me, yeah, we have been friends for a while. I have a big ask. I said, what's that? He said, I'm writing a book and I think I need your help. And I went, okay, then what you need? Yeah, I said, "Oh, yeah, what do you need?" He said, "Well, I could show you what I have, and I would like to, help. And we could co-author the book, and so eventually things about it." And yeah, so he sent it to me, and I realized I about 2 days after I'm sending a message saying, "Wait a minute, you doesn't have anything," and then he will. That's the point. I say, "How much time we have?" He said, "4 months." I said, "You know what? Let's do this." I said, "But you have to. For me, if I'm going to do this with you, you need to be on the ball with me." And I get in. That's how I get into the whole writing thing. And what I did was, I used to write the book. I used Classic JS as the pinnacle for writing the book. That's where the connection coming between the both of them. So in the book itself, the idea was to write a book slightly different to all the other tech books that are out there dealing with test automation. Where I decided to tell them, you know what, let's write the book in the sense where if somebody picks up the book and follow it from cover to cover, they can actually go on and do this job. Because we want to, let's teach them as we go along. So if anybody get a chance to read the book, you realize it starts with, this is what we want to do. Here's a virgin machine, and this is how we're going to set it up to do test automation. And then all the intricacies, it mightn't work and this might not. We collate all that and put it in the back of the book. So if you get out, you can look in the back of the book and see and know how to fix it. So that's how it went on. But then we went through chapter by chapter dealing with, this is what it is, here's what we have, and that's how the book is structured in a sense. And what it was is they liked that. They actually liked it, and I have to say the book is doing really well. The book is doing really well on out there in the market. But tech book as that is doing pretty well. So yeah, that was the whole book thing. Actually, JS itself, that came about when I was looking for Cambridge assessment. And I was looking for Cambridge assessment. They had one problem. They had like about 50 million websites. That one for French, one for, it's Cambridge we're talking about. University, by the way, Cambridge University. So they have a lot of websites. And when they do something that have to go across all the sites, it used to take 2 weeks to get it tested before it go live. So they was like always kind of behind on what they want to do. And they bought me. So I had a guy, I worked with a guy in a different place, and they wanted somebody who could come in and help with that problem. And he recommended me. So I show up, they talk to me, they like me, they say, here's a blank canvas, do it. And that's where Classic JS was born. I decided, okay, we need to automate this. How are we going to do it? And then I say, okay, I need to choose a language, but I need to choose a language where if something go wrong, you can get help from anybody. And then I decided JavaScript. Why? Because all developers, no matter where they are and what language they work in, they know JavaScript. Right? And that was where, and that's how Classic JS started. It didn't name that before, it had other names before it reached the Classic JS in itself. But I took that and I took what we call 2 weeks work and get it done in 8 hours. And that was like, whoa. And I started, and then Classic JS was just born from there because I found a way to speed up this. So you start doing, things in straight on, then you start doing things in parallel. As the technology move on, I improve on it to what it is now. Classic JS in itself is an automation framework where it will take you, the user, about 10 seconds to spin up a project, and you can start writing your test cases right away. Yeah. And the whole idea by doing it like that was, over the years, like I said, I improved on it, and now it's very modular. So the framework itself does do UAT, visual validation, accessibility, API, soft assertion, and I'll explain soft assertion to you in a second. Soft assertion, world global usage, and I'll explain that to you as well. And that's why, and the reporting and emailing, all built in into the framework. So if you use the framework immediately, as you pull the framework and you use it, you have reporting an emailing facility built in. And by that, it means once you get your test to run, you automatically send an email to whoever you send it to at the end of the test. It will generate a report and email it out. Yeah. So for assertion to explain, it means when you run an assert in a test, if the assertion fails, the test stops. I found a way, well, I see other people doing it now, but I found a way where the assertion will fail. You keep that in memory, continue the test running, and if the assertion fails, you pass it into memory, and then when the test done, you pass back all the failures into the report and it fail the test in the end. Because I realize an assertion is not functionality. And I created and I think that I see WebDriver IO now just about 2 months ago put out a big thing. Oh, we have soft assert in built in WebDriver IO now. But I actually created it to do because every time nobody didn't know how to do it, and I am not. And again, it really back to the book. We wanted to do something, and if you go back and read the book, you realize, oh, there are soft asserts in the book, and only you hear about soft assertion from the big companies. I actually came up with the logic in my head, and built it out. So that is where it is in terms of what Classy.js is and how I'm improving it. And everything I build for Classy.js, I port into OAF, which is Oxford, the Oxford of it. So they get things inside there. Yeah, so that's the whole. Yep, it's in GitHub. Just KLASSI-JS. Yeah, so you can type that out there. So it's just K, and you see classy as in, but it's KLASSI-JS. It's on GitHub. It's open source, and and it's modular built. So the way it works is you have the framework. Say it have email and reporting built in, and then a bill. It was one big thing, but now I strip it out because it was just too big and heavy. And so now you have the other modules. So if you want to do accessibility, I have a Classy.js hyphen ally A11Y. I have that in out there as well. So if you go to my whole repo where all my stuff is again it's Classy.js, KLASSI-JS, one word. Let's go there and then you will see the list of all the things that I have there, and then you can just pull the module as you require it, as you require it in to do whatever you're doing. Okay, it's no, I'll say somebody just asking for things. I'm giving them. I'm posting the link in the comment. Yeah. What's the question? I think I follow the question. Let me see if I can rephrase it so we all understand what the question is. The question is, what if you being a QA? How do you know if that is your real purpose? Yeah. I would say it like this. Now, once you become, just forget QA for a minute. Once you decide on a career, how you know if that is your calling or that is your true purpose is by how you feel when you do it. And by I mean, when you get up in the morning and you have to go to work, it's two things there. One of them is I'm going to work to do a job, or I'm going to work because I like the company. So it's two things when you're working. Either I like the company much, 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 or you're working because I love the job itself. Forget the company, take the company out. It's the best company in the world. Everybody wants to go there. How you know that is a calling? It's how you feel doing the work. When you have, and by that I mean when you're actually doing it. You have a project and you're working on the project. How do you feel? You're having an issue. How do you deal with it? Do you crash and burn, or do you say, right, this is my problem. I'm going to do this, and if this doesn't work, then I'm going to reach out to Jane, and if that doesn't work, I'm going to reach out to Tom, and if that doesn't work, I'll pick up my phone and ask somebody completely that have nothing to do with the company that I work for. And if you're feeling good in yourself by doing that, then you're in the right job. Like for me, actually, somebody asked me one time, I was doing a talk, and they asked me, "Oh, you're doing this, and it's money. How do you feel if you're working for one company and the next company call you and give you more money?" And my response was, you know what? For me, it's thing. For me, QA and tech is a hobby to me. It's not just a job. It's my hobby. So I will do it, and this is a nice part. Whether you pay me or not, I will do it anyway. Right? And that is the feeling you have to have when you're in your job. You have to ask yourself, if there wasn't paying me to do this, would I be doing it? If I wasn't getting paid to do this, would I be doing it? And if you could honest to yourself, and this is what we're saying, this is about you yourself. And if you could say honestly to yourself, yes, whether they pay me or not, I will do this anyway. Then you know that's your true calling. But if you can't say that, and you're asking yourself, nah, I don't think I would do this, or I need to have a certain amount of money in which to really do this, then you're not doing it you're doing it let's say, as a job, where between 9 and 5, you put in your time and then you move on. So that's the big difference with how you would know if that is what you choose. And then if this is your true calling, you would find yourself automatically looking at ways to make what you're doing better. They might give you a tool. So this is the tool we use, and then using it, and you turn, that's not efficient enough. I feel like it improve on this. You see, once you start having them thoughts, you know you're in the right job. But if you just use it, fine, done, then you're having that thought, should I become a developer instead? Should I stay in tech and become a database administrator instead? And things like that. I hope that answers the question. Okay, how I handle failure on the job, for want of a better, and I think that will cover it, is this. For me, I like a challenge. So if I doing the job, whatever it is I'm doing, I could. You ever hear the term? I could do that in my sleep. It's a term, and if I can do my job in my sleep, that means it's not challenging enough for me. I mean, I got to put in no kind of effort whatsoever. I could just get done. Failure wise, that's something that for me personally I don't really dwell on, because this is how I look at it. If you have a fear of failing, you will never learn. Right? If you have a fear of failing, you will never learn. I might sound harsh to a lot of people out there out here in this environment, but if you have a fear of failing, you will never learn, because you learn by failure. You do something, and funny enough, failure is the best way to learn. You do something that doesn't work, it now gives you that chance to rethink the manner in which you approach it in the first place. But if every time you get up and if the thing on the term, if you could just get up and get it just done in your sleep, you could get it done in your sleep without having to wake up, you're not learning anything. You come like a robot. You're just going through the process. They don't prime you up and you know what you're doing and you're just doing it constantly. So fear, I think a lot of people do have a fear, but what I would say is try to use your fears to improve on everything else that you have out there. Because if you don't fail, you can't really learn without failure. If anybody see anything different, tell them I say, they'll tell them a lie. Mhm. Yeah, when Lambertus reached out to me and asked me to do a talk, I was racking my brain, what could I talk on that would make an impact? And you have a lot, and then I say, you know what, soft skills. Why? Because, like I say, it could be real technical. You know it on the door. You is the best technical person in the world, but you can't have a conversation. You can't go and talk to somebody about what it is. Soft skills is very important. Things like having a conversation, communication is a soft skill. You need to be able to communicate not just with your peers, but with the higher uppers, the higher uppers as well. You need to be able to talk to me, I being your boss. I'm not technical, I'm just the boss. You need to be able to talk to me so I could understand what it is you're doing, and I could understand how you're doing it. Because if you really, like you rightfully say, you're really good, you're genius. But if you can't explain that to me, you put yourself in a box. You actually putting yourself in a box. So that's where soft skills comes in. So you need to learn to talk to people. You need to learn to empathize with people. It might sound strange, but you need to empathize with people. Why? Because in testing, as we know, you the developer, I the QA, I say it's broken, you say it's not. And we need to have a real conversation there, and that's one of the typical ones. And if I don't empathize with what you're saying, then I will never grasp the way to explain that what I saying is right and what you're saying is not, despite the fact that you write in the code. And I just tested it. You have to develop those things. And the way you do that is like, yeah, you join communities like this, where you could talk to people and you could express the way you feel about things and hear what is somebody else's opinion about what you're thinking and how you're thinking. It's kind of like if you live alone, then you talk to yourself and people say you're mad, right? But if you live alone, but you actually leave the house and go out there and have conversation with people, then you don't feel lonely. So it's a whole mind thing. You live alone and you can be lonely, or you can live alone and you're just living alone. And that's where soft skills comes in. The whole being able to talk to people, the being able to empathize with people, the be able to think outside the box. The way it even comes down to the way you handle money. Because why it might sound stupid, but why? Because you have to be able to negotiate. You have to negotiate your own terms. And so yeah, so where soft skills come in is something and like I said, the talk is out there. I can't remember the whole thing off the top of my head, but the talk is out there, and we can have a whole conversation on that. And I mean a whole conversation on it. But it's something that we need, and I'm saying we because I still have to improve on lines as well. We need to do as a QA or as anybody in tech for that matter of fact. It's just not specific to QAs, but yeah, you need to do that to have getting your soft skills to be able to communicate better. And in our world, we need to communicate. We need communication big time. Yes. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So work-life balance. So yeah, I do a lot, and to just to help all our business. Yeah, so I'm the CTO for Kids KBH Classroom, which is KBH stand for Kids Black History. Right? Yeah, that's what KBH stand for. Classroom is because we specific. I built out this whole platform to get it all done online, so schools could use it instead of doing the Black History Month just for 1 month. It's something they could use across the year, right? So work-life balance. Yeah, I do a lot, and one of the things I just tell everybody, and up to yesterday actually, me and my partner was talking about it. Work-life balance is something I must keep. I am one of them people who, when Friday come and I turn my computer off, it stays off. I don't go back to it for nothing. Yeah, it stays off. No work, no nothing. And that's something we have to try and get in and get in there. Is that work and work-life balance? It simply means being able to walk out of the I like call the revolving door of work, right? So being able to come out that door and don't go right back in on the other spin. It's being able to come out that door and stay out and then only go back in when you decide it's time to go back in, which will be Monday morning in this conversation. So, and then you need to find to do things. If you put it like this, you work in tech, and on the weekend you're building your own side project, you're still working. Right? You're still working. It's not no work-life balance. You're working all the time. No. Work-life balance means find something else to do. For me, I had my sports, right? For me, I had my sports. And I do things like coaching. So I have that. And I take the kids, I have kids, I take the kids to the game and I spend all that time with them. So right, yeah, yeah, yeah. You don't have how to say it. You don't have always your brain always in work there. And if your brain in work, which meaning like we say, you just do tech as a job and on weekend you have your own side project going, you don't have no work-life balance. You must be able to socialize. You must be able to go to the movies. You just leave the house and go and talk to your friends on the corner. You know, just do something else that has nothing to do with what your job is. And this is for any job. And because you need to relax. And people say, yeah, but I just sleep X amount of time in the night. Yeah, you do. But you don't have a work-life balance because when you're not sleeping, what you're doing? Who are working. Exactly. So the work-life balance is you find something to do that have nothing to do with what your job is. And I mean make it fun, where you actually have to go out there. You're not doing anything yet. Just to use my term, find something where you actually have to do absolutely nothing. Yeah, go on a walk, go hiking, go swimming in the pool with friends, go by the corner and drink and just talk about nothing. Because you need that. Your brain need that. Your brain need to come down and go up. Come down and go up. But if it's always up there, you're gonna burn yourself out. Yeah, I will tell you how I just tell my partner. Put the phone away. I just tell her that I'm honest here. Put the phone away. Because like you're right. People always, if they're not working, they're down on their phone. No, people don't communicate anymore, actually. I think this brings us back to communication. People don't talk to each other, you know. And I've seen it many times. I've been to restaurants where you and your boyfriend or your husband or everything sits at a table and the phone out on the table and all it right there. And I swear to God, or they're texting each other, but we're not actually saying anything. I've seen it. I've seen it many times. Yeah, I've seen that. I've actually been to restaurants where I show my partner, I say, look at them. Since we come in here, not a word, but watch them. The phone on the table and they're typing away with one finger. Yeah, they're not talking. And I think how to say this? Because this generation, which is your generation I'm talking about, because you guys born with this in play, I want to see life different to how I would see, because this is an added thing for me. To you, you born in it, so it was just there, right? And what you guys have to try to do, and I say it like this, what you guys have to try to do is stay away from it. Put it down. Start small. I didn't say just drop your phone, but start small. So you know what? For 2 hours every day, I will not touch my phone. And we're not talking 2 hours when you're sleeping, right? Talking for 2 hours every day, I will not touch my phone. And do that and increase the time. You know, it have days. It have days. I am in a lot of groups. I'm in a rugby group, I'm in an army group, I'm in a lot of groups. And sometimes when I pick up my phone, I have hundreds of messages because I haven't been on social media for days. Yeah, I haven't been on it for days. And because you need to get that. If your brain is constantly being simulated like that, again, you're gonna burn yourself out. You need to relax. And like I say, like I say, how do you rest? You know how to rest? By doing nothing. Might sound strange, but resting is this. You know, if you come outside, I mean outside in your house or in your house, and you come downstairs, you turn the TV on cartoons, yeah, and you sit down and you watch 2 hours of cartoon, you know your brain get more rest than if it had watched 2 hours of a movie. And I mean an action movie or something. You know why? I'll tell you why. When you're watching a movie, any movie, you have to concentrate on what's going on so you could follow the story pattern. If you put your TV on cartoons, you don't have to study nothing. Why? Because cartoons are the most impossible things out there. That is all a steamroller, just drop on them, there's get flat, bullets at the back up. So your brain have nothing to process. So now you're relaxing. Yeah, you're watching the TV, but you're relaxing because your brain not processing anything. And I'm looking at some of the emojis that are coming across the screen, and you know, yes, it's true. You laugh, but you know, put it in practice. Just give it a shot, and you understand what I'm saying. Just watch that. Because your brain have nothing to process, and this is what we need. We need our brain to come down as opposed to be scrolling social media. Because you have to concentrate on what you're scrolling. So funny enough. And you pay attention. Oh, you need to watch that, you read that, and then you follow the story back. And yeah, so you to relax, you have to actually relax. There are other ways. Well, there's just one of the ways you can do it. There are other ways. You know, go for a walk, go to the mall, you know, go shopping with your sister or your brother. Just go, just walk around the mall. You know, and it's just because you're giving your brain time to do nothing really, quite aimless. When you go to the mall, what is there to do? Seriously, nothing. Just watch around and further. You might eat something. If you have money, you might buy something. But outside of that, you're not really thinking about anything. You're just chilling. Uh, I mean, you can ask. You can ask. I think I can answer the question before you ask it. Your exercise is key. You know, I've exercised all my life. I mean, because I play sports from a young age all the way through. So I've been exercising all my life. It's only now, and I mean like right now, I actually have a gym in my house, and I can't tell you the last time I actually use it. Right? Straight up, yeah. Straight up. I can't tell you the last time I actually use it. But exercise is good. Why it's good? It helps relieve stress. It helps relieve stress. It puts you in a place of calm. You know, when you do a good workout, ask anybody about this. When you do a good workout, you just feel, this is really, yeah, I feel in I could go and lift up a car now. You know, you feel that kind of, you know, you get that feeling in you. And so exercise is good. You must find some way, and you don't need to join a gym to exercise, by the way, right? You can go walking. I mean, just literally go walking. Yeah, you can do, and I prove that to people as well. You can just walk and you'll be perfectly fine. You don't need to go running on treadmills and top of that. You know, how do you like? Actually, I can answer this question. How do you advise one to go about overcoming inconsistency when it comes to exercising? You see, like I say, and like I was just saying, I was actually answering the question before I come up. You don't need to actually go to a gym. You could just go walking. And I just say, so this is, we all walk. But if you go walking as an exercise, you just need to speed up the how fast you walk. And funny enough, that's it enough. Just need to speed it up. And exercising inconsistent, like you do it this week, and then due to things you do it for the next 2 months, and then you do it again. All that's fine. All that's fine, because you will life, once life is being thrown at you, it's not guarantee to go to the gym every morning. You might have a kid. Now you have to take the kid to work, so you can't do this, and things like that. So yeah, that's one of the things where you look at, you find that little balance, and you take it when you can. But you know, the most important thing, do it seriously. Don't just show up the gym and say, okay, I have 10 minutes. I'll just straight up to the gym and I'll go. No, do it seriously. Go with a plan. Right, I have 10 minutes tomorrow. I will do legs for that 10 minutes. And then the next day I have 5 minutes, do arms. You know, do it seriously. Put in a plan and do it as well, and it works. Yeah. I have a question here. Is it true you have to be good? You have to be good in manual testing before you get into automation? Let me tell you the answer to that. The short answer is yes. The long answer is still yes. Why? Because if you don't know what testing is, how could you automate it? It's simple as that. You know, how could you automate it? If you don't know the raw process, how could you automate it? You need to know what it is you're automating. You need to know why you're automating it. You need to know what's the benefit of automating it. You need to know, could it be automated? And we could go on and on and on and on. So the long and short answer is yes. You have to be good at we will use the term manual automation. So you have to be good at manual testing, you know, if you really want to be a real quality automator. So it's a process. Automation, people out here, automation is just a tool to do manual testing more efficiently. More efficiently. Exactly. Go for it. You know, go for it. I have the time. If you guys have the time to listen, yeah, go for it. Hmm? I mean, that's a real loaded question. But I tell you, it's a loaded question. But the answer is like this: security is one of them things in tech, and I'll go back to say it like this: security, you should operate with security in tech, just as you would in your house. You have kids, you put away the knives. So in tech, you build a website, make sure nobody can inject a little secret or a little JavaScript into it. You know, you think you have fire burning, you know, you need to guard it off so nobody can put their hand and get burned in it. You have to follow, see, just how you follow guidelines in your everyday life, you need to apply that same thing to your job. You know, like if I build in something, I have to build it, I will build it so it works. But then after I finish, then I'll start to think, this is how I start to think. Okay, so this works. Yeah, but what about somebody enter, are we going simple, right? We build a login function. So simple. All it have inside is two fields and a button. Login function. It works. Forget all the tech behind it. Just the function. So you have to ask yourself, okay, this is for they want a username and they need a password. Yeah, but how would they take it? Do they want just emails for the username, or they want an actual name like John Snooks, or they want a name Larry G? Something. So either taking a name or they want an email address. How would that work? Now, if I give them an email address, how would it know? So this is where your security come in. How would I know? I have to put safeguards around the email address. So it must follow a particular pattern. So that they just can't type anything and add that, and it must follow a particular pattern. If they're taking usernames, then it's that one have to follow a certain pattern. How long is it? how long, I need to set all these safety stuff, because if you don't, especially with password, if your password is 1234, that's, yeah, anybody could guess that, right? Anybody could be able to guess it. But so how, I need to find a way that when I create a password, it is not, somebody can just guess it, and then use it. And that is where security comes in. So, and then you can go on further. And that's where we have all this about cyber security, where you're locking down things, and people trying to put, we've got phishing and all the other, things that is inside there where people get past you, and even getting into your system via VPNs. And so now going back into away from tech, but into networking itself. People could pass, grab your ports and use ports. So you need to lock ports down. So you can say, right, I only open my ports with this particular type of traffic. So, so where security is concerned, in the general scheme of things, you must treat it like you would treat your house. You wouldn't just walk all the way, okay, I'm going to the mall and I'm just going to leave my front door wide open and go down the road. You wouldn't do that. No, you'll make sure you lock the doors, and if you're living on a ground floor, you will make sure you close the windows so nobody can't, just jump in the window and stuff. So, and that is where the whole thing with security in work and security in your own life, that's where the balance is. Yeah. Exactly the same place it is today. As a short answer, I'll be honest with you, exactly where it is today. And why I answer the question like that is because when automation itself came into play, people was bawling, oh, automations are going to lose my job because I just do this and all. But 20 something years on, you're still working. It just, so QA will not, and I say it like this, people, AI will never replace you. The only way AI will replace you is if you get complacent in what you do. And by that I mean, AI, you need to use AI just how you use automation today. You have to use AI as a tool to improve on what you could do already. Right? Like, let's take ClassicJS. That's a framework for us to do our automation testing. But if it stays the way it is now, it will get left behind in how much people want to use it. So that is where, funny enough, that is where self-assertion come in. Yeah, that's how as a whole, when you think about the logic in it, that is what AI does. It says, this is what it is. How do we get to do this automatically without any human intervention? And I created self-assertion. So now you don't have to worry about the test and assertion fail, I think just do it for itself. And then you improve on that. We have, like right now, I'm doing something with KBH. I'm building out something with KBH at the moment, calling it 2.0 at the moment. And I'm building a lot of AI stuff in there. So the thing with AI is you have to use it as a tool for what it is. There's a lot of hype around AI, and we need to learn what is hype and what is not. One of the things a lot of people need to understand is where AI is concerned, you have to watch where the reports come in and where the hype coming from. You read Apple say blah, 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 blah. OpenAI say blah, 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 blah. John Snooks created this big report on the, but you have to ask yourself, who paid John Snooks to write that report? Because when you look at the reports that are coming out, it depends on who bring out the report. For one particular model, and they're against all the other models. And watch all the reports that come out with AI. It's either bigging up a particular model and they're trashing the others. They're saying these companies is doing this when these companies getting left behind. But yeah, I have one question for everybody on the call. Where is the data coming from to train the AI models? And the short answer, the internet. Everybody using the same data to train the AI models, with the few exception where they have some internal stuff like the Amazons. We have all our data because it's biting off Amazon, and the Facebook for the people who have Facebook account and all that stuff going on in there. That is the only extra data that is being used to train your models. Everybody training the models on the same thing. So when I come out and say, oh, my model is the best model because blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and then 2 weeks after, you read a next report by Jane who say, yeah, but our model is the best model because blah, 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 blah. But yet it's the same. So one of it is hype. And we need to cut out the hype to get it over. So AI is good. No argument with that. It is good. But you have to be able to use it. And in saying that, one of the things I have is, and this I know a lot of people on the call wouldn't like me, but one of the things I have about AI is I find if you're now coming into this world, leave AI for a while. That's not for you. It's simple. Yeah, but you're telling me, yeah, but AI can write the tests and everything. I only have one question for you. If AI write the test and it breaks, how are you going to fix it? That is my only question. If AI write the test for you and it breaks, how are you going to fix it? Yeah, simple as that. Why? If you don't know what is going on, then AI is detrimental to you. That's a death trap. So you need to learn your whole skills. So that's what I'm saying. AI will never, and remember, and this will be recorded, so it will be out for the long way after you're gone. AI will never replace you. Will replace you bottom line. You're not going to lose your job there. You need to enhance it. You need to take it on board. You need to follow it. You need to use it. You need to look into it and make, like I like to say, and use common sense in its usage, and you'll be fine. But AI wouldn't take your job. Yeah, that's right. I think earlier on I was saying it's about how you treat how you treat the job, and if you know if that the job is for you. When you in the job, and this will be period. When you're in the job, and in this case you spend 5-6 years, and you're asking yourself, anytime you reach the point where you're asking yourself, I'm not learning anything, then you have one or two choices. Find another job. I mean, when I say find another job, I mean like I said, change companies. So you'll get a new perspective on how QA is done. So change companies. And two, if you reach to that stage, it means you not doing a very fundamental thing. And that is you're not following the technology that you're working in. And because this tech we work in is so vast, right? It is so vast and it's so big that I have no way you could tell me, well, you could, but the reality is you should never reach that point where you say, I'm bored. Just not really doing anything. But then I'll ask you one question. Okay, why are you bored? And you say, I learn everything there is to in QA. And then I'll just ask you a random question, and then you try to figure it out. Oh my God, what am I thinking? And you can't answer it. It's not your bored. What it is you start to follow a particular path and you put on blinkers. You know them thing the horses as well, blinkers, so you can't see in races, you put on blinkers. So you're not looking at what's going on the right, what's going on the left, what's going on above and below. You're just going straight ahead. And you can never do that in your career if you want to be stimulated and to keep you going. And like I say, I like to play with tech. So if I hear, oh, new thing, if you press this button, it is make sandwiches. That's a new thing in the tech world. I want to try it. So I'm going to hunt it down and check it out and try to pull it apart and see, really? They're only fooling me, man. I thought it was making real sandwiches. And that is what I mean. If you need to do this, you need to to get out there and look at what's going on outside of what you're actually doing in the role. And that's the only way. And this is what brings me to the point of doing something on the side. If you stay as a QA, but you never try to build a function to make your job easier, then you're just working. Yeah, you're just working. You're not actually building a career. You're just working. When you're talking building a career, it's like anything else. If you're in the military and you're a foot soldier, as we call it, you want to be the best. You want to be special forces. You want to be in the army. You want, and all the different things that they have out there. That's where you want to be. You want to be SAS. You want to be special forces. You want in the Navy SEALs, because that is building your career. You don't just want to go in and, okay, yeah, you're trained to be a soldier and you're going to guard the president's house. You don't want to do that, because after a while you get bored. What am I doing? And that is what I'm talking about in your career as well. Once this is your career, you need to make it a career. You need to make it where it serves your purpose. It gives you that, yes, I could get out of my bed this morning and go to work. Yeah. If you can't do that, then I'm saying that straight, change your job. Because you might get stuck in a company. I work for a couple of companies where I realize if there's nothing here more for me here. If there's nothing more for me here, because they follow this particular pattern and they're not interested in looking outside of that pattern, then you need to move on. Because the other one, people need to remember this. No job owes you anything, and no job is security. In today's world, no job is security. You can go and work for somebody today, and for nothing, no reason come that is specific to you, they're laying you off. Yeah, they can lay off and stuff like that. So you have to always keep yourself up to date. Don't wait for a company to send you on a course. Right? And this is the next thing. Don't wait for companies to send you on courses. You go on a course for yourself. It might cost you a lot, but save your money and do it one course this year, do a next course 2 years down the road, and ways like that. And then because of the way we live in today, the world we live in today, there are a lot of free stuff that you don't actually need to pay money. You just go and pick it up. Because the world we live in today now is not like back in the day where you actually had to have a piece of paper. Now they call you, could you do this? Yes, prove it. Here it is. Boom, and they hire you. And before, what school you went to? Where's your paper on this? What? I'm not sure if it's the same thing over by you, but now over here in the UK, they're kind of doing away with that when coming to interviews. And so specifically for me, interviewing people, I don't want to know how much degrees you have, and I don't want to know what school you went to and how much courses you take. That's irrelevant to me. So I want to know, how would you test this? How would you go about testing this? And then I actually asked a guy that in an interview about 2 days ago. How would you test this? And that was it. I want to know your thought process as opposed to how much degrees you have. Because I've seen, and I've seen it aloud, I've seen people with degrees and masters, and they didn't know anything that would help them in the real world. Mhm. Mhm. I, from my point of view, I think that, and I'm agreeing with you here. I don't think we have enough mentors out there for the people that are coming up. That's one, and two. I personally don't think that the people out there, which we what you call this, the millennials and the Gen Zs, yeah, I don't think that you guys is actually reach out to get mentored. And one of the things with mentoring you guys is you got to remember two things really, and one of them is when you're doing mentoring, it's a two-way process. It's not just me talking to you; it's a two-way process. So, in the sense, because I think so, the concept here is how would you approach this problem? And you say, well, I will paint you when I'll go left to right because it's more efficient, it leads us. And I would say, no, what you could do if you try up and down this way, because the way the wall is and the way the people that look at it, they will rarely see an up and down mark, but they will quicker pick up a left to right one. It's a two-way street. It's about me telling you how I perceive things, and it's about you explaining to me how you perceive it. And then we work out, you know what you saying is good, and what I saying is good. So now you have two ways of doing the same thing. That's what I try to do when I try, especially with QE. When I mentor a lot, because like I say, I am responsible for 60 something on people under me, and they have questions and they have years in the job. Some of them is 5, some of them 9, some 10, and they still reach out. And I, for myself, even reach out. I have a go-to guy. I know a guy. You know a guy, right? Yeah, and I'm serious about it. You must know a guy who know a guy. And by that I mean, as a mentor, it's not just about your experience. In this case, it's not just about my experience that I trying to turn over to you. It's about my experience and my guy experience and my guy experience. And so because the way I would do something is not the way my guy will do it. I will do something and then I realize, oh, let me call my boy and say, hey, John, blah, blah. You say, no, man, you don't have to do that. If you do this, it could. And I realized, oh, yeah, I didn't think of that. And then you tell me, yeah, that's why I'm here. Right? And that is something that you guys don't do. And all you need to do is reach out. Don't just get stuck in and going, oh, I need a mentor. I tell my I need to learn something. Well, Larry getting old, so just now he's going to hang up his guns and things just now. I mean, he's going to leave all that knowledge in his head. But you know what? If you want to know, reach out to me. Ask me something. Ask me. I'm not going to reach out to you because I don't know you. You want to know who is this strange man reaching out to me? I want to talk to me, right? You know, if you reach out to me and say, I am this person and this is why this do. Could you help me? So I think I need mentoring in blah blah. I'll reach out to you and help you. And I always have time. I make time. And again, work-life balance. I could make time for a lot of stuff. And people just ask, how do you do it? Make time. Just make the time. Because when you think about it, and I tell everybody this, right? Think about your one day. And think about what you actually do in that day. Yeah? And then ask yourself, wait a minute, I realized that I just spent 3 hours doing nothing. It really didn't do anything. He was busy, but he wasn't doing anything. And and that's where, and in terms of mentoring, so that's one aspect of it. The other aspect is when you do have the people to mentor. And I think I was talking to what's that young lady's name that was work with you? In what's her name? Young K? Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was saying that about mentoring. I say, oh, you guys do this, I was actually looking to it because it's something I can help you guys with because I know where the technology lies and stuff. And I know a lot of people, especially in Africa, that are coming out in this whole tech field. And learning on your own is fine. But if you have somebody to push you a little bit and somebody to show you a different avenue to do the same thing, we're not telling you don't do that. You're doing exactly the same thing. But now, instead of just going, now you can do this. Because you're getting input from me, getting input from John, getting input from Harry, and now you could put this area, you know what? I like what everybody's saying. What if I do a combination of those 3 things? and boom, you realize you take a different trajectory to do exactly the same thing. And so when coming, and I think that's where you guys, and I'm saying you guys because the Gen Zs and the millennials, you guys need to reach out to the people in the field, and that's the only way we will be able to help you all improve on what you know and get better at what you do. Because we have tried it and tested it, so we know, yeah, that will work. Yeah, 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 see that you see they are overused, and I don't think there's a word of overused, to be honest. Okay, I mean, and thank you for having me. And just to make this point, it's a weekend. I'm not busy doing anything. I'm going to just go there and chillax, watch some TV. I might go down to the town center and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here. And everybody know my LinkedIn profile, so they can reach out at any time. I am no comes with that. And if you have something in particular you want to ask, yeah, you can ask Faith, or you can reach out to me directly, and I will respond. And I will respond. I want it. But if you're saying it now, don't expect much response on a weekend, because I actually do not stay in this whole tech thing on a weekend. I just chill out and lock it down and gone. But I will respond. So thank you very much for having me, and it was a pleasure being here. And I hope that my parting gift is, I hope that it was guided for somebody, and somebody could take, learn, and get something from the process. So thank you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Okay. Bye.
Thank you, Larry.
I can hear voices. Yay.
So
Thank you,
much.
guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank
Have
you,
a good
sir.
one. Bye.
Thank you, Ma.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Have a beautiful weekend.